All right. Good morning, my friends. I am so glad to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. We're together again. I give deep thanks for that. Well, I've prepared some ideas drawing from other people's wisdom. I don't have much of my own, but the presentation I have, I'm calling Fragile, Handle with Care, This End Up. So these are three ideas, but they're all connected, I know. So what makes us fragile? Is fragility useful? What about the pains that come from being too vulnerable to the standard stresses of our lives? Everybody's got stress. Nobody's immune. How much vulnerability is too much? I've told you this before. I don't have many answers. I just have lots of questions. And I enjoy asking them of myself as well as asking them of all of my friends. Sometimes we use the words, in the ideal world, we would have certain circumstances, or I have the best of both worlds. I always have questions about remarks like that because this feels like a rationalization. It feels like a willingness to slide over into an idea that doesn't have traction. This is one world we have. If I have a perception that there are two worlds, I don't think that works because this is the world we have. We want to be as real as possible on this path, whatever path it is. This is the unity path. And so to rationalize and say, well, in a different world or in a real world, we would have such and such, I don't go with that. I would rather say, this is the world. What are the different ways that we can look at the world and really see what the truth is? Seeking truth. So here's the way I look at the world sometimes. Oh, good. Thank you. Thank you. Now I know you're listening. That's nice. Well, in this real world, we have our five senses going for us. You also have five psychic senses. And these psychic senses are just as important. To trust our intuition is really a big deal. We want to do more of that. And along with the psychic realm, I have this book I've had since about 1974, and it's by Edgar Mitchell, Psychic Exploration. And this was one of the pioneer books in a newer era when yoga was still in an early stage in the West. In those days, in 74 approximately, that's when I started learning about the depths of yoga. And I found that the literature about the psychic realm was a little bit rare, but now Edgar Mitchell was the sixth person to walk on the moon. And he wrote this book after some very profound experiences he had, one in particular. He founded the Institute for Mystical Experience Research and Education, and also the Noetic Sciences. That was the entity that he came up with. And by the way, anything that I say in these talks, you're welcome to email me. Our friend Neil is sending out messages to all of us. The emails are visible. I welcome inquiries about these ideas. So this is a book that is very, very worthwhile. His work was very seminal because he was a scientist, and his willingness to expose some of the psychic ideas that he experienced himself, that says a lot for the steps that he was taking in his own life, not only on the moon, but the steps to unite science and spirituality. So he described his mystical experience, which occurred on his way back to Earth after 9 hours of working on the moon's surface. And he said a few things here. I'll quote. I had completed my major task for going to the moon and was on my way home and was observing the heavens and the earth from this distance, observing the passing of the heavens. As we were rotated, I saw the earth, the sun, the moon, and a 360-degree panorama of the heavens. The magnificence of all this was this trigger in my visioning. In the ancient Sanskrit, it is called samadhi. It means that you see things with your senses the way they are. You see them viscerally and internally as a unity and a oneness among accompanied by ecstasy, a unity and oneness accompanied by ecstasy. Another interpretation and understanding of samadhi is you're uniting with the creator, with God, with the great spirit, all of these names for the one, the one. And so his experience was through science. And on those journeys that the astronauts have taken and will still take, they don't have time for any frivolity. They have to get the mission done. And so they treat those missions as training, and they treat the training as missions. So it's all business, but yet his enlightening experiences were important, and they have continued to be important. So I drew upon a lot of those experiences when I put these ideas together. And so this idea of fragile, being fragile, we all have to decide those things for themselves. I've been a lifelong teacher. I've had classroom experience from pre-K through guest lecturing at a university level. I've taught things in the Army. I taught survival skills in the Army. I've had private sector with the Virginia Employment Commission. So I've got and sought a wide variety of experiences. And anytime you give me a mic and something to say, oh man, I'm in heaven. I'm in heaven today. So the idea of the teaching, for me, requires some fragility, some vulnerability, because that's the way I can sense where a person is in the exchange between teacher and student. I can feel more of where they are in their learning and in their experiences if I am vulnerable myself. But I recognize that's not possible for everyone. It's not practical. I've had some friends who've worked in the emergency room in hospitals. I knew a woman, student of mine, a yoga student, and she was a 25-year veteran of being an ER nurse. Oh man, now she's seen it all. She's seen it. Can she be as vulnerable as a yoga teacher? I don't think so. So we all are seeking our level of receptivity, just like the microphones we have in our certain music studios, certain ones of us. So we're looking for the level at which we can be receptive and to sense the world and to sense each other. That level of fragility is a very important idea to recognize. So the next thing in my title, handle with care. Handle with care. Now that should be an easy one. What kind of care should we use when we handle ourselves and attempt to handle others? How can we move through the world so that we can have minimal impact on nature? How about do no harm? A physician who was exposed and trained with exposure to the Hippocratic Oath. First, do no harm. It is the first rule, the law of ahimsa. In the Eastern teachings, we have ahimsa, which is not harming, non-violence, especially to ourselves. Non-violence to ourselves, that means a lot. So, there's an Indian expression that's the subcontinental India. Treat every man like your father, except your husband. Treat every woman like your mother, except your wife. Now that's heavy duty. Maybe it's too simplistic for the way we have to live in our Western society, but it has some influence on the way we can treat people. So if it sounds too extreme, then you have to temper it a little bit for the way you're able to live, or the way you think you have to live. That means something. So the third statement I had in the title was, which end is up, or this end up. Now that means something because our equilibrium is going to have a lot to do with how we perceive things. How do we hold ourselves? What is our balance level? And these days, especially with older citizens, there are classes that are geared toward balance, learning how to stand on one foot. That's a big deal for some people. There's some medications that people take that interfere with the balance. So we have to retrain the mind to accommodate some of the chemical actions in our lives, because this practicing of balance, I believe, also is a metaphor. Balancing physically is a metaphor for learning to balance ourselves in society, with career, with family, with circles of friends, even with performing errands, going into workplaces and feeling that we want to have a balance, being just sensitive enough without being too sensitive, being balanced enough. That's an effort. So the importance of the balance is important. So what are the steps when we want to find our center? I've conducted meditations with you on occasion, which I'll do again today. And the systems of meditation, I've been influenced and initiated into 4 different paths of meditation, 2 Western and 2 Eastern. And they are all, from my limited understanding, they all have to do with first mastering the breath, and then becoming sensitive to the physical body, learning how to have a controlled relaxation in the physical body. And the Western paths are heavily influenced by the East. And they say that the yogic mystics, the yogis of antiquity, went to Egypt and they learned from Hermes Trismegistus, the ancient Egyptian mystic. And he had the concept, he gave us the concept of earth, air, fire, water. And there's a 5th element that the yoga practitioners use, of space. Now, I'm saying a lot about yoga, but also there's a lot of Raja Yoga in the unity teachings as well. It's present. What we have to do is consider that presence. So we have earth, that's the stillness. Then we have fire, that's the movement of the divine energy up and down the body, the Kundalini. And the water is flowing movement. And space is meditation. And of course, the breath. The breath is the pranayama, air. So earth, air, fire, water, space. So when you manage to transcend with your meditation, that's the space element, the element of space, which is way out there. And you have an internal space. So as a miniature of the vastness of space, you are a microcosm, the microcosm. And the bigger space that Mitchell experienced and other astronauts, space travelers, that is the macrocosm. Micro, macro. As above, so below. And that comes from Hermes as well. You can look up the emerald tablet. The emerald tablet. So I'm going to start with the breath, because the breath is a great help for understanding. So as you're sitting here, this is an excellent time to look in at your own breath to see how balanced it is. The ideal is where you have the same duration of inhaling as exhaling. That's an ideal. But you want to feel as though it is controlled. And later when we meditate, I'm giving you a primer now, but later when we meditate, you're going to want to feel balanced with the feet square on the floor. You want to feel that your spine is straight. And also, particularly, this is important, that the lower ribs will move freely. That is, when you inhale, the lower ribs bulge outward. They flare open slightly. And those lower ribs is the place where your diaphragm is connected. So you want there to be a 360-degree support of the diaphragm. That's an important idea. So I'm planting these seeds now so that when we meditate, maybe you'll have a fuller experience. So, if I may ask, who is meditating regularly? Say maybe twice a day, 20 minutes each. Anybody? Okay. You may not need to meditate. I know a lot of great, great people who don't meditate. I do because I'm a crazy man. If I don't meditate, I don't have the same contact with self. So I'm meditating twice a day. Sometimes I get in three, and I meditate about half an hour twice a day. But it says something about my limitations, not about my superiority. I don't have any of that. All of the people who are ministering do it because we are needy, not superior. We need, and so we groom ourselves for giving the things that we need for ourselves. That's an important idea. So the balancing comes first from the breath, mastering the breath. It comes from body awareness also. So as you're sitting here, maybe you're feeling some tension in your neck. So maybe you will do a few circling motions with your neck, and that might help you to find the balance. Here's a good way to find the balance of the head. As you're sitting up straight, you let your head flex back. I'm going to do the same. And then you slowly let the head come forward until it is balanced, not farther. You might do this 2 or 3 times. Head goes back, and then you slowly tilt it upright. And that might be slightly different from the way you are sitting from day to day or hour to hour. So I invite you to try that in order to find centeredness for the head. So you know that your head contains the brain and contains the awareness of your balance, your psychic center, the third eye. This is the place where we have awareness of the creator and the awareness of our psychic faculties, which can be developed. And all paths will tell you that your psychic abilities can be developed. So going on for a moment, I'm going to offer a statement here in the form of a prayer or an invocation. An invocation. So to all of us who are at a crossroads, this pandemic has been awful, but it's also been a time of great opportunity. Great opportunity. Some of us have lost a lot of income, but we've had a gain in time. I've done some great reading during the pandemic and writing, which I hope will be great. But all these opportunities surfaced because of the pandemic. So to all of us who are at a crossroads, to all of you who feel as though life is singling you out for a strong lesson, to all of you who might feel bereft of the health or companionship that you had before, the support, to you, to all of us, I offer an invitation. Go into the stillness of your mind. Meditate in the tradition of your faith, the faith of your birth. There you will find a place to experience the connection to the infinite that will ease your mind and refresh your self. So to all of us, to all of you, I send love. I send love. I send the peace of this time. That might help us to center ourselves. So if you think you are really subject to some strong trials now, also remember that you are experiencing lessons that no one else is experiencing. And, in my age group, we have a lot of people around us who are experiencing some deep problems. I lost a dear friend, a fellow musician, who had a stroke and did not survive. Well, this person, this dear friend, has entered another room now. And that new room is going to provide new experiences. So this loss that we have is not a loss to your soul. It is a chance to experience something new. And I'm talking to myself as much as to anyone. So sending love, amen. So moving on, this idea of macrocosm, microcosm. I'm a big fan of astronomy. I follow all of the new developments that I can, insofar as they pass my computer screen or in the lay media. I'm reading about all this. This Webb Space Telescope. Have you heard about this? Oh man, there are no cameras on this thing. It is launched, and in a couple of months, I guess, it's going to position itself in a certain place of neutral gravity between the sun, the earth, and the moon. And it's going to be positioned there to observe the far reaches of this universe, which might be about 16 billion years old. And it's going to be able to answer certain questions. So along with that, I bought myself a present that is it's an astronomical binocular, pair of binoculars that are big, they're huge, and they're going to be able to see some of these far objects, not like the Webb, no, but they're going to be a big panoramic view of this galaxy, and I'll be able to see other galaxies too. And binoculars give you a wider angle than telescopes. So if you ever get hungry for this, there is the Sky Meadows Park going west of here. I'm in Vienna, Virginia. And going west, there is a park where certain astronomers might gather. So let me know if you have a pair of binoculars or a telescope. Maybe we'll have a little field trip sometime. But this idea of the astronomy connects us with the macrocosm and the idea of stars. Exploding stars are the places where other elements were created. So look at ourselves. We are composites of many elements. So the iron, copper, zinc, tin, antimony, bismuth, all of these metals were created in exploding stars. So you and the ingredients of your physical body came from exploding stars. I won't say that's awesome because that word has been so inflated by misuse, but that to me inspires awe. The idea that I hear am the product of exploding stars, and you too. I'm thinking of millions of years going backwards now, millions of years, all of your forebears were healthy enough to be successful in partnerships. And here we are today. This luck, the luck of your birth, is an extraordinary event. To be here now, alive, to be sentient, to be able to appreciate the paths of mystics who came before us, they are amazing. So when I took out these binoculars, there are instructions available to this thing. Sometimes instructions for these physical objects are hidden. Sometimes the instructions for the physical being that you are hidden. So you have to look for the instructions. One of the favorite excerpts I have from the Bible is, Psalm 46, 10, 46:10. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. So this stillness you will enhance in your meditations. It's a way of knowing that you have access to the instructions. Access to the instructions. Some of us are parents. Parents, they say, receive the children. I'm a dad. I have two daughters. They're now young women. But they came with instructions based upon what I was able to garner from the wisdom that I've been searching for and continue to search for. So the instructions are there. Be still and know that I am God. So how can we listen if we don't become still? How can we know anything if we do not listen? There's a popular saying, we have two ears and one mouth, because maybe we should listen more often than we speak. That's a great admonishment. And I'm sharing this as I'm going on and on here with my own mouth. But the idea of being still and listening, that's a huge deal. So you open a new package, your new binoculars, your new being. Today is a new day. We're at the beginning of a new day where we have new lessons available to us. So we're going to read the instructions. You're going to skip over some of these ideas because maybe it's um, not a deep thing that you feel you need to do, to look inside. We all have plenty of friends who don't necessarily read spiritual things. They don't necessarily practice any system of meditation. And that's fine. They're still good people. You know, a lot of them are better than we are in terms of knowledge, in terms of practice. But what we reveal into the world, that's the thing that should be observed. No judgment. That judgment sets us back. So you know about this physical universe, the macrocosm, and you know about your microcosm, the opportunity to look inside. And the big deal about astronomy, which is a branch of physics, you know this, the big deal is the search for the ultimate reality, the connection between the microcosm and the macrocosm, the big science with its mathematics connected with the small science and its mathematics. And those two systems do not connect right now. On paper, in hard science, there is no connection yet. The theory of everything, that is the big riddle, and that is what is being sought by science all the time. How do you make those two systems come together? That one theory. Well, I believe you will have exposure to some of that in your own meditations. And I believe that many people have had a divine experience that maybe they will not share, where they have had a certain enlightening exposure to the divine that is so indescribable as to be so private that only you know about it. And have I had an experience like that? I'm not going to tell you. It's not important. It's only important to me. But you will have experiences. All of us will have experiences as we are ready to receive them. So the stillness is going to be very important in our learning. And someday someone is going to want to know about you. So keep a journal. I think it's an extraordinary, wonderful gesture that you can have, to keep a journal so that people will know what you have experienced and to remind yourself of what you want to experience. Well, I'm going to pause. Would you like an interlude of music? Well, okay. Yes, they all shouted in unison. Oh my goodness. Well, now, does anyone have an alto flute handy? There happens to be one right here. Holy moly. This is a little bit bigger than the standard flute or the C flute that you would find in orchestras or see in orchestras. And I've become comfortable with lower frequencies because of the sensitivity that I have and the resonance that I feel in my own torso. So I'm going to play some sounds on the flute, and you're also going to hear in the background the sound of an electronic instrument that's going to echo what I play. So I'm going to be playing along with the music I'm providing for you. So I invite you to go into a state of meditation, and this will be for a few minutes. Now, at some point, I'm going to become silent, and that will be another few minutes of silence. And during that time now, you may experience thoughts coming in over the top of your meditation. If that happens, you let them come. You let the thoughts come in, and then you let them pass through the mind. Now, that's an important idea, and sometimes beginners don't have a feeling of success with that because they think that they have to deal with everything right now. Not necessarily. So when thoughts come in over the top of your meditation, you just watch them go. You let them go bye-bye. And then you go back to observing your breath. If you have a mantra, maybe you'll use a mantra. Maybe you'll use that too. And once you find a good system of meditation, stay with it. Don't go shopping anymore. Once you have a good meditation system, allow it to deepen. That will be your vertical connection. And that vertical connection, has something to do with deepening your horizontal connection. Do you like this gesture of horizontal and vertical coherence? That means something. It meant something a lot earlier than the major religions. It goes back many thousands of years, many, many. Okay, so I'm going to give you some electronically enhanced sounds on the flute, and then I'll become silent in a few minutes. Okay, now we're going to gently come back from our meditation. We're always very gentle when we return. We want to preserve the peacefulness of the experience. So you are aware of your surroundings now. You can move your hands and feet a little bit. Maybe your face muscles, maybe you'll stretch your face open and feel the jaw muscles. And you may slowly open the eyes. You can cast your gaze downward so that you don't have a big onslaught of information right away. And if it's too much information, then close your eyes again. And you wait a few seconds so that it's a gentle reconnection with your surroundings. So this has been a few minutes, and maybe you'll continue to learn about your own meditation technique. It is such a gift to perceive yourself as a multidimensional being. You're complicated. All of us, we have a lot of moving parts. But meditation, connection, I believe, can give you a better sense of harmony within the sphere of your microcosm. That harmony is vital to survival. So now, what do you think? Would you like to have a song? I have a song, and I have a guitar head. Does anybody have a classical guitar? Do you have a Guild Mark 6? Oh, wait a minute. Look at this. Wow. Thank you so much, Leon. Leon kicked his personal guitar down on the floor and he passed it to me. Here it is. Oh, you guys are so wonderful. Okay, now I have a song that I really enjoy playing and singing insofar as people think I can sing, which is not very far. So now this is from an album of songs. Well, it's called All Shall Be Well Again. All Shall Be Well Again. And I'm going to play and sing this. Let me see. How many think this is an adequate volume? Okay, very nice. By the way, this album was All Shall Be Well Again. The name of the song, however, is Julian of Norwich. Julian of Norwich. And she was a mystic in the Middle Ages. And she lived next to a cathedral. And she said that she was told by the divine that all shall be well again. And she went around. That was her message. Don't worry, everything is going to be okay. That was her message. As simple and beautiful in its simplicity as it is to us today, that's what she was saying in the Middle Ages. Julian of Norwich. Loud are the bells of Norwich, and the people come and go. Here by the Tower of Julian, I tell them what I know. Ring out, bells of Norwich, and let the winter come and go. All shall be well again, I know. Love, like the yellow daffodil, is coming through the snow. Love, like the yellow daffodil, is Lord of all I know. Ring out, bells of Norwich, and let the winter come and go. All shall be well again, I know. Ring for the yellow daffodil, the flower in the snow. Ring for the yellow daffodil and tell them what I know. Well, there you have it. The song was written by Sidney Carter, Julian of Norwich. So now, to sum up now, the title of my modest presentation was Fragile, Handle with Care, This and Up. So you can take those phrases from day to day, hour to hour if necessary. And let's all remind ourselves to take good care of this precious gift we have. And I'm a big fan of journaling and the sciences and the arts and all forms of mystical study. And in the arts, you can take up an art form, buy a little set of watercolors and a pad of paper or a pencil and some bond paper from your copier. Everybody's got that, it seems. Playing an instrument. And meditation can be the backup. So you can reinforce all of these things in your own lives. So you do those things now, don't wait. You're not going to be younger next year or next week. This is it. The time is now. This is the time. So I'm going to turn the screen and microphone back to our friend Neil. Neil, how am I doing?